Hello everybody, what we're going to look at now is how to produce a mind map based on the context that we're given by the exam board. The actual physical producing the mind map is quite simple, and you'll see me do that here, but the difficult bit is actually getting the ideas from your brain onto the mind map. Some of you will struggle with this quite a bit. I've done my thinking already, so on a piece of paper I've written out this mind map, and that's got all my thoughts on it, and I'm going to transfer these thoughts onto a digital version. Obviously you can simply photo or scan, if you've got the ability to scan this piece of paper into your computer and then put it onto your portfolio that way. Now, I'm not going to do this based on the context that you are given. That's not allowed, because if I was to do that, you could look at my mind map that I've done and get some ideas for yourself. That's not allowed by the exam board. So what I'm going to do is do this based on a previous context. This is one from last year, and this was sustainable living. So it goes like this. In today's world, consumers are increasingly concerned about buying products that are quickly outgrown or that become obsolete before they cease to function. Explore the role of designing and creating products that have an extended lifespan. So what I'm going to do is think about that in my brain, and I'm going to start connecting things to that context. Now, when I read that, the first thing I thought of was single-use plastics. So I'm going to type in here, single-use plastics, like that. And then what did I think of from there? I thought of plastic bags, shopping bags. Oops. And I also thought of sort of single-use cutlery. I'm going to think of some more examples here. So I'll do it on cutlery first. So some more examples. Knife, fork and spoon. I'm particularly thinking about those sort of white plastic ones that you get at things like barbecues. Quite often we don't bother washing them up and keeping them. Quite often they go into a bin, especially at big events and things like this. I also thought of straws, in particular at shops and places like that, restaurants. And the last thing I thought of was fast food packaging. Particularly thinking of things like wrappers from somewhere like McDonald's or something, stuff that isn't very easy to recycle and tends to just get thrown away. In terms of plastic bags, I thought of these two things. I thought that they actually can be used again. They can be used again. So that's a good thing. They can be used again. I don't know about your family, but we tend to put them into and use them as like bin bags for small bins. So they do have a second use after you've carried your shopping home for them. But most of the time they are thrown away. They end up in landfill. Okay, so this gives me two areas which could benefit from my design ideas. Now you could be thinking there's lots of ways that we could solve this which are quite obvious, and yeah, I agree, there are ways that we can solve these which are quite obvious. Plastic bags, clearly, you can take one of those fabric bags or a bag for life, something like that. Cutlery, we can have knives, forks and spoons that are not disposable, nice and simple. Let's move on to something else. So something else I thought of was ocean contamination. And I thought in particular of things like David Attenborough documentaries where you see, like turtles caught up in fishing nets and things like this. Let's see what we can think of there. So I'm going to include disposable barbecues. Disposable barbecues. You know the ones, the foil ones that you will buy when you go to the beach, and occasionally if you're at the beach you'll see people have just sort of dumped them there. That gives you some extra problems. That gives you this foil that will just sit there for pretty much ever. It will give you possibly food waste, which isn't very nice, obviously. And it can also give you this sort of like ash or the remains of the barbecue, the charred bits from the barbecue just all strewn everywhere across the sand. It's not very nice. And then I also thought of fishing waste. So on there I thought of rope and nets and floats. So sort of ocean detritus, I think is the word, sort of like stuff that lies around in the ocean. In particular, the fishing waste from fishing vessels and from big ships. It's unlikely that as a GCSE student you're going to come up with sort of an amazing solution to that problem. I've talked before on different videos about macro and micro problems. Your focus should be on micro problems, small things that you can solve. We'll come onto that a little bit later as well. All right, then, something else I thought of was something called built-in obsolescence, which I think I've spelled correctly. No, I haven't. Obsolescence, there we go. Built-in obsolescence. That means things which are designed and sold, but they're designed to go out of date. They are not built to last. The best example, and the classic example really, is an iPhone. Some of you might own an iPhone. Some of you might have several iPhones at home. I know that here we have me and my wife have probably about 6, 7 smartphones. Obviously, only one of them we use. The other 6, 5 or 6 are just in a drawer, just sitting there doing nothing. They've gone out of date. They don't work anymore very well. What do we do with them? We can't recycle them. They just sit there. The other thing I thought of was connected to this really is cables. In particular, I thought of in one of our cupboards, we've got a bag, a plastic bag, in fact, full of cables, really old cables, cables for very specific things which we don't use anymore. And we've also got in there lots and lots of USB cables that every time you buy something electrical, you get a new USB cable. And we've got multiple of them. We've got loads of them. We don't need all of them. So we've got these products sitting there which we're never ever going to use again. So a little bit of detail there then. For the iPhone, they last about 2 years maybe. Maximum 2 years, I should think. And there is no way to upgrade. Cables. Lots of people have got multiple spares, and some are never used again. Last thing to come on to, disposables. So on here, I thought of 3 different things. I thought of postage packaging. Everything that you get delivered in the post, because I think lots of things get delivered obviously nowadays. Lots of them come in those, I think they're called, I want to say like tough packs or something they're called. They're brown paper on the outside, and then on the inside they've got bubble wrap. Obviously keeps the stuff that's being sent really, really protected, but quite difficult to recycle and very rarely used again. Okay, so in here I'm going to add in difficult to recycle. Still spelled it wrong. To recycle. And I think there's probably millions used every day. The other thing I thought of was polystyrene packaging. That's the white sort of squishy, bobbly plastic that you get when you buy anything electrical. Comes protected with this. Lots of it, again, difficult to recycle. Also, It's cheap and cheerful, and that's why it's used. It's very, very affordable for the companies who need to protect their products that they're sending out. Last thing I thought of for this one was, and this one is particular, medical equipment. And by that I mean this: if you've recently been to the doctor's or hospital, if you need some sort of medical equipment to be used on you, they tend to have everything in these plastic packets, which they rip the plastic packets open, they go in the bin. They might use that whatever it is for 10 minutes, and then the stuff that they've used goes in the bin as well. I in particular sticks in my mind. We took my little boy to the hospital, and they needed to use some of the little sort of scissory, grippy things to get something out of his foot. Opened a packet, used the scissors, and then the nurse said, "Would you like these scissors?" And we said, "Do you not need them?" They said, "No, we're gonna throw them away." Was used for about 10 minutes, so we've got them in the cupboard. They still work perfectly fine. Obviously, that's all done for infection control, which is an important thing, but it is wasteful. It's massively wasteful. So on here I've got a particular example, scissors in packet. So that comes from my experience, scissors in a packet. And I've got massive packaging waste. Load of just happening all the time. So now what I'm going to do, this is my mind map sort of complete. Now what I'm going to do is think about ways I could possibly solve these 4 problems. I'm not going to think specifically. Okay? I'm not going to think to exactly what I could design and make. What I am going to do though is I'll use some little sticky note things here. And there we go. I'll put a sticky note down here. Just move that a little bit. And then what I will do is I will put possible solutions here. So I think for these things, I think these could possibly do with some redesigns. Disposable packaging, disposable postage packaging, disposable medical packaging. How about a redesign so we don't use this sort of plastic-based stuff? Obviously, doing that could be quite difficult, but we can give it a go. So down here, I'll use a different colour for built-in obsolescence. I think here we could reuse the obsolescent product, so the iPhone or the cable, alternatively. Okay, reuse alternatively. We're never going to recycle an iPhone. What we can do instead is possibly use the shape and block form of an iPhone to do something. Not sure what yet, but we could use it to do something. Over here, single-use plastics. The key here is to reuse, not dispose. Oh, can't spell dispose. Dispose. That's the key to solving that problem. And then the last one, ocean contamination. I think the solution here is not to particularly do a physical redesign of anything, but to encourage care. Okay, encourage care from users. So, possible design projects that we could do here: redesigning of packaging, using the objects in some other way, redesigning again the existing products into something that can be reused. And over here, this could be sort of possibly more of like a graphical project to appeal to people's better sensibilities. Hopefully you can see that from this word and this context which you've been given, you extrapolate out your thoughts and everything's linked together. Okay, everything's linked. We've got the different branches here. That is the kind of thing that you will need to produce for your portfolio, you will need to produce 2 of them, 1 for each of the contexts. Hope that's been useful. Any questions, obviously, to my email address or on Microsoft Teams. Miss Dillner obviously will answer questions too. And then when you've done one of these on your portfolio, share it with us and we'll check it and we'll suggest changes. All right, thanks.